it's Naomi and I'm back. Welcome to my gluten-free, allergy-friendly cooking channel. Today I am going to be teaching you how to make funnel cakes. Now I am gluten-free, dairy-free, egg-free, a lot free, and funnel cakes are usually off of the menu for me, but I have learned to be a problem solver, not a problem seer, and I thought you might want this recipe too. We can make it at home. We don't need to buy it, right? So if you'd like to cook with me, go ahead and make sure that you gather your ingredients together. I'll be going through them in just a minute. And remember, if you want really good recipes direct to your inbox, go ahead and subscribe to my channel or follow me on Facebook. All right, are we ready to get started? Let me put this to the side. Okay, you're only going to need a few ingredients. The first thing you're going to need is 2 inches at least of oil in a heavy bottom saucepan. Let me show you that. It should be said, it should go without saying, that frying is not kid friendly. So if you have young children, please do not do this with them. Do it for them. It also should be said that you need an oil that is good for high heat. Anything that can cook at about 400 degrees or above should be good, and you want a really heavy saucepan that's at least 2 to 3 times the depth that you need. So about 6 inches high, and you put 2 inches of oil in, heat it up to about 350 degrees. You want to do that first because you need your oil to be spiking hot when we get ready to fry. All right, are we ready? Next thing we're going to need, and I'm going to get a saucepan because we're going to put this in a small saucepan. You're going to need 2 measuring cups of water, about 6 tablespoons of butter or dairy-free margarine. Anyone will do. You just want to make sure that it's the stick kind or solid. It'll say appropriate for baking. A tablespoon of sugar. Now, if you don't like sweet things and you want a savory funnel cake, swap out the sugar for herbs like chives or oregano or something like that. But if you want a sweet funnel cake, use a tablespoon of sugar and about 1/8 of a teaspoon of table salt. Okay, now we're going to put that on the stove. We're going to bring it to a boil. Now this shouldn't take too long, so while that's boiling, you're going to measure out your last 2 ingredients. You're going to measure out flour, and for the flour you need a minimum of 1 cup or 141 grams and a maximum of 3 cups, which would be about 423 grams. While we do our recipe, I'm going to explain to you why there's a range and how to know what to use. But you want to definitely have your minimum. If you're gluten-free like me, you can use a good cup for cup gluten-free flour. Now, I'm the better batter lady, so I like better batter, but you do you. You use anything that is truly cup for cup. How do you know it's truly cup for cup? Because you can pull out your mom's recipes and make them. If you can't do that, it's not really cup for cup. And the other thing you're going to need that we're just going to get ready is either eggs or bean juice, aquafaba. Now, for this recipe, you would be using about 4 large eggs and 2 egg whites, or about a cup of aquafaba. Aquafaba is a fancy word for the juice that comes out of the can of beans when you drain them. And I find that 2 cans of beans, 15-ounce size, usually gives me about a cup of fluid. Some brands are thicker, some brands are thinner, but you want about a cup. Okay, so we've got that down. We're going to set it aside, and we're going to go and check our liquids. Okay. Now I am getting supposedly I'm getting a whisk so that we can whisk our flour into our hot liquid as soon as it boils. Okay, we're going to be whisking 1 cup of flour into the liquid that we're boiling. But I gotta find my whisk, so give me a second. Now meanwhile, my oil is getting hot. You want to use fresh oil because you're probably only going to get one go out of this, all right? Oil, when it cooks too long, gets rancid, it oxidizes, it smells bad, and it burns your eyes. Okay, so our liquid is cooking. Sorry, I have texture issues, so I'm constantly feeling things and needing to wipe my hands. And this one will be the mother of all textures. Okay, and we're going to measure out our 1 cup, 141 grams, about 5 ounces of flour or cup for cup gluten-free flour. Now you want this liquid to be like boilingly hot. As soon as it starts to boil, we are going to dump our flour in all at the same time, and we're going to start to stir it and cook it until it thickens up into about the form of cookie dough. Okay? So I am going to bring the pan to you because I cannot bring you to the pan. Be a little nervous about that. And hopefully you'll get to see what I'm talking about. But you're going to have to trust me when I'm whisking it, okay? Sometimes it takes a while, especially on a rainy, cold day. In the middle of summer, we suddenly have a cold day, which is good for me because I hate sweating and I don't have air conditioning. But it does make things tend to take a little longer to cook in this kitchen. Don't know why. If you know why, go ahead and let me know in the comments. All right. So now we're going to dump the flour in. And we're going to beat it. It's going to start thickening up on you. Keep beating it. Keep beating it. You're cooking it basically like a choux pastry, like puff pastry or cream puffs. And you want it to thicken up. So you're going to keep stirring, and trust me, this is a workout. I like to tell myself that this is my workout, so I don't need to actually work out. But I don't think that that works out, if you know what I mean. Okay, now it's going to start, I don't know if you can see, it starts thickening up. You want to cook it a little bit more than this, okay? When it really starts cooking, it's going to start wanting to leave the sides of the pan. You want it to get to where it really wants to leave, like it's a bowl, like a ball, okay, of cookie dough. Now you don't want to cook it long enough that it starts to brown or cook to the bottom of the pan. But right when it starts to leave, you can see it gets gloopy. Okay? If it's a little thicker than this, that's okay. And you're going to put it in your mixer. Let me go ahead and move these things because I don't want stuff going everywhere. You can use a hand mixer if you want. I'll be honest with you, I think a stand mixer is much better for this. You're just going to kind of get that glob of dough into your mixer. If you're really strong, I guess you could do this by hand, but why would you? Okay, and then we're just going to scrape. We're going to scrape the rest of it right into the pan. This smells so good. Kind of like creamy, buttery, like a little bit like cookies, a little bit like funnel cakes. And if you're patient, which I'm not, you're going to try to let it cool down. I'm going to let you see, even as it's starting to cool, what I mean by it turning into a glob, okay? Can you see that? Okay, now what we're going to do is we're going to incorporate the eggs or the bean juice into this mixture as much as we can, beating as much air into it as we can so that it puffs up when it fries. Now you might be wondering, what are we doing with this extra flour? We will get to that in just a minute. Meanwhile, we're going to go ahead and attach our bowl to our mixer, and you're going to put your whisk attachment on. Okay. And you are going to add your aquafaba or your eggs about 1/4 cup at a time. Now, in order to properly measure the eggs, you're going to need to beat the eggs first. Make sure you incorporate the extra egg whites that are in my recipe. But if you have the aquafaba, there's no need because it's all just one thing. So 1/4 cup at a time, put your mixer up, turn your mixer to about medium speed, and we're going to incorporate 1/4 cup at a time until it completely is blended in. Then we're going to add the next one. When you get comfortable with it, you could probably turn it to high speed. Just depends. Now at this point, if you have eggs in this mix, you're probably not going to need the extra flour, okay? But you might need it if you have the aquafaba. What you want is something that looks like a cream puff pastry dough, okay? It's going to be a little bit thicker than a batter and a little bit thinner than cookie dough. And you're going to have to eyeball it. In just a minute, I'm going to show you the perfect texture. And I'm also going to tell you what you're looking for as far as with the oil. This, to me, is too thin. This will fall apart with aquafaba. It will definitely fall apart in the oil. You want something that puffs up but holds together in the oil. If you use too much flour, you're going to get like fried breadsticks, okay? If you use too little, you're going to get all these little sprinkles of fried batter that are disgusting and don't hold together. This is too thin, in my opinion. another cup. And I find even with the eggs, probably 2 cups is just about right. With the aquafaba, up to 3. If you can get away with 2, it's better. If you find this gets too thick, add extra eggs or extra aquafaba. Do not add extra water, okay? This is starting to look better, in my opinion. Now, everybody has a slightly different opinion of what a funnel cake should be like texturally. So you may find this is sufficient, or you may find you need to add a little bit of extra flour, but this is what you're looking for. Okay. So the next thing you're going to do is you are going to fit a pastry bag with a number 12 tip, or you're going to use a Ziploc and cut about a 1/4 inch hunk out of the corner. I like to put it in a tall glass just so I can stuff it in easily. And I find you can get about a half of this mixture into your pastry bag. Now, if you're being good, you can make these into little individual servings. But if you want it to be like the fair, this is probably going to make 2 large funnel cakes. Okay? Now, I am going, got some on my fingers. I am going to try to take you over and show you the frying process. So bear with me, okay? Let's see. Have to get ready, right? Okay, so if your batter is dripping out of the bottom, you have it too thin. You want your oil about 350 degrees. Too warm, it will cook too fast and have raw inside. Too cold, and it'll absorb all the oil and be soggy. So what I always do is I always just squeeze just a little bit into the oil. If it's right, it'll start to bubble and it'll start to float almost right away. That's right. Like I said, do not do this with kids right near you. Please don't. Now what we're going to do is we are going to take and we're going to start swirling our funnel cake batter into our pan. The funnel cake will pile up on top of itself and it'll take on the shape of whatever the pan is. So if you want small ones, you're going to have to be pretty precise in your piping. I'm going to try for that now, but you can also do big ones like I did earlier, okay? So I'm doing a couple of small ones. These are going to take about 2 to 5 minutes to cook for the small ones. Might take a little bit longer for the big ones. But basically you're going to look for it to be golden brown, okay? Let's go again. And I like to have a spatula and tongs. The spatula helps me just to lift and look, flip things if they need flipped. And the tongs help me to actually get it moved. Spatula is more for stability, the tongs are more for mobility. Now you notice we have no baking powder in here, but it's going to puff up just from the steam. much larger funnel cake, it would take much longer to cook. So keep that in mind. Probably when you start to see it turn golden brown, you're going to want to flip it and make sure it's cooked evenly, so you don't get a burned side and a raw side. This always makes me a little bit nervous. Probably it would be beneficial if you had an extra set of hands and a fire extinguisher close to you. All right. So you are going to drain this on paper towel or junk towels if you don't like to use disposables for at least a couple minutes. Make sure you turn your heat of your oil off. And I would give it 1 to 5 minutes depending on who you're serving it to so they don't burn themselves. And then you're going to just put it on a plate. And you're going to sprinkle either some kind of maybe a pecorino romano cheese if you were doing savory, or powdered sugar. If you cannot have corn, we do have a good corn-free powdered sugar at the site. But you're just going to tap, tap, tap. A nice, light, even covering. Or make a mess like I do, because, you know, I'm a mom. And there you go. Hot, delicious, crunchy. Let's see if you can see that. So good. Oh, very hot, very delicious, very crunchy. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you have any questions, make sure to put them below. If you have any requests, I'll do my best to fulfill your requests if you leave them in the comments section below. And I hope to see you soon. Don't forget, I love you. Bye.